Welcome to the Grow Your Clinic podcast. My name is Ben Lynch. Today, we're speaking with Dr. Paul Hermann. Paul is an experienced osteopath and exercise scientist, author, lecturer, presenter, and mentor. He is the founder and director of Stay Tuned Sports Medicine with over 40 team members working in interdisciplinary clinics in Elwood and Borneo, which are in Melbourne, Victoria. He is also the founder of Stay Tuned for Others Foundation. It was actually this point that we connected on at one of our Grow Your Clinic workshops. I first met Paul and we were having a chat on the Saturday night. In fact, sharing a beer and talking about many different things within healthcare and private practice. One thing that stood out for me though was Paul's purpose and his passion and how he infuses that into his team. He is an incredible leader, and we dove into some of the pragmatics of what he has put in place to allow him to be the best version of himself as a leader and practitioner, as well as allow his team members to be the best versions of themselves, ultimately leading to greater accountability and motivation within his team. I love the humility that Paul shares in this episode, and I think it might resonate with you as well. Enjoy as we explore how to embrace a Clinics for Good movement and also focus on delivering the best outcomes for patients. And as Paul likes to call it, everybody deserves to feel good, and that's the mission that they're on. Enjoy.
This is the Grow Your Clinic podcast from Clinic Mastery. We help progressive health professionals to lead inspired teams, transform client experiences, and build clinics for good. Now, it's time to grow your clinic.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
I'm excited because we first met at an event. We were having a couple of drinks after the event, a few good discussions, and one particular thing stood out for me, which was orangutans.
Yes.
Can you tell us?
I don't know why that's a surprise at all.
Well, tell us more about orangutans and how that relates to Stay Tuned and what you're doing as a clinic.
Yeah, sure. Look, well, I'm a 6'1" redhead myself, so have been called oranga many times in my life.
Yep.
And growing up as a tall, freckly, pale young lad, children are often very imaginative in the nicknames they give each other. And some nicknames are funny and some not so nice. So as I went through business and started to look more into how we can help people and how we can help the wider community, I started thinking, well, how can I use my success to help those who can't help themselves? And the obvious, one was orangutans. They're also redheads, but in their case, they're getting endangered by the activities of humans and they can't help themselves. So it's our role, I believe, to step in and help those who can't help themselves. And in this case, we started adopting an orangutan. We now have 9 in our Stay Tuned Ranga family.
Wow.
And, yeah, it's fantastic. And the staff are all behind it. They all think it's both funny and fabulous. And yeah, I luckily got over there 18 months ago now. I was over in Borneo with our orangas and got to meet my first ever adopted orangutan, Dodo. And it was just magic. Yeah, it's just fantastic to see what they're doing over there to look after those beautiful creatures.
Wow. And so how did it come about presenting this idea to the team for you? This is obviously quite a personal journey, but bringing your sort of purpose or mission into the clinic, how was it received by the team? It sounds like they're all pretty happy about it now, but how did it go when you first introduced it?
Yeah, a little bit of surprise. Driving belief behind everything we do. So it's the decision-making process, it's the passion, it's the thing or the core value in our business. And so it was simply an extension of that, obviously an extension outside of humans, but we also believe that all animals deserve to feel good, and everybody, including every living thing on earth. So this was an extension of that. Once they obviously got the connection between the redhead Paul and the orangutans in Borneo, and jumped on board and thought it was a brilliant idea.
Wow, cool. And so you sponsor these animals, and how does that actually practically work? Like you said, you've got 9 now?
Yeah, so a small portion of every consultation goes towards the Stay Tuned for Oranga Foundation. 100% of those funds, without any administration costs, go to the Borneo Orangutan Survival Foundation, which is an international foundation. They have head offices in a large number of countries, and they manage multiple rescue centres in Borneo, one at a place called Samboja Lestari and one in central Borneo called Nairu Menteng. And yeah, they look after the orangutans as well as doing a whole bunch of conservation projects and awareness projects.
Wow, that's so cool. We have, an initiative called Clinics for Good. I guess inherently we believe every health professional wants to help more people and make an impact in their community, and that's by extension of the consult that you deliver through to the things that you can do charitable wise with the organizations or causes that matter to you. So I'm so thrilled to hear of the connection that you have to the orangutans in Borneo, and you get across there periodically to go and see the work that they're doing.
Yeah, I've been once now, and definitely very keen to get back there again. It's a fantastic project, and anyone can volunteer their time and apply to go over through Borneo Orangutan Survival Foundation. But it is, I got to give people a little heads up warning. It's hot, it's humid, and it's hard work.
Yeah, right.
As much as it's rewarding and amazing to see these animals, you're there volunteering your time to help. So it's definitely, you get a good workout, we'll say, for the 2 weeks that I was there.
And Paul, you mentioned there about the philosophy that you have of everybody deserves to feel good, and how that's played a role in what you're doing here with this cause, but also as a philosophy or a belief that you have and the reason behind starting your clinic. Tell us more about what does that actually mean, if nothing else internally for you, and what inspired that particular belief that everyone deserves to feel good?
Well, yeah, I guess the simplicity came from when I was a bit younger. There was a TV show called Chicago Hope. Right. Those who are a little bit older may remember it. And at the start of every episode, there was a bunch of doctors and specialists who would sit around a table at Chicago Hope, the hospital, and they would discuss complex clinical cases and put all their brains together to come up with solutions and ideas. And this whole philosophy of 1 + 1 = 3 sort of came through, that by putting 2 heads together, you come up with even a better solution that you may have come up with individually. I loved the concept, and that was kind of the dream that I always wanted Stay Tuned Sports Medicine to be, was a group of, I'll say, interdisciplinary practitioners, not just multidisciplinary, sitting around in some format and discussing how they can help each other through collaborative care to achieve the most desired outcomes, or the best possible outcomes for each person. Not just in terms of reduction of pain, but improvement of health, well-being, happiness, etc. So we are by no means this stretch of specialists that Chicago Hope had, and we're by no means as good actors. But we definitely do our best to collaborate amongst our allied health practitioners and try and be that difference in the definition of interdisciplinary versus multidisciplinary.
Really cool. I know a number of clinics in the community have some beliefs, philosophies, ideologies that they bring to their clinic, and really feel that can be a source of inspiration for their team now, help attract team members in the future, and ultimately be a way to guide their impact with the patients and community that they serve. I'm interested in the pragmatics of it as well. You mentioned there about sort of sitting around and doing case discussions. What are some of the things practically that you do to live this out on a daily basis?
Yeah, well, that's been a challenge, and it's certainly been refined and improved over the years. And we by no means have got it perfect, but we continually try and improve the process of collaboration. In the early days, I don't believe we got it that well, to be honest, but lately we've really managed to improve it, and we have weekly collaborative care meetings where all the disciplines and all the practitioners are invited to attend, and we get a vast majority of them coming along and just discussing cases. So we might have in the room a podiatrist, a clinical psych, a myotherapist, a physio, an osteopath, and a dietitian, or multiple dietitians, sometimes multiple practitioners within each modality, putting their 2 cents in. Oh, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? What about this approach? And sometimes it's super beneficial without the patient even needing to necessarily see that practitioner, to even just get an insight into, have you looked at their shoes, or have you considered the approach of this type of food, or ask them about this. And if they say yes, then they should definitely come and see me in a consultation. But if they say no, there's probably not much I can assist with. So it gives some further information to really clarify who is best to help that patient or that person, or which group of people is best to help that patient.
How cool. And when you do those sessions, do you have like a rotational basis where each discipline gets an opportunity over the year, or is it based on an as-needs basis?
So the meetings occur every week. Anybody can present cases at any time, but in that meeting, we also have pre-selected modalities to discuss how they would help with condition X. So it might be, for example, the dietitians might be presenting, how does nutrition affect or help with lower back pain?
Right.
Very broad-based approach. So they come in and talk about how nutritional aspects may affect or help lower back pain. And of course, we then all start discussing cases around lower back pain. It might be clinical psychologists talking about how stress can affect posture, which can lead to musculoskeletal issues or conditions, dysfunctions, etc. So there's a pre-programmed schedule on that, but we leave that for about half of the session, and the other half is just free discussion to go wherever we like.
Cool. I can imagine, yes, when you've got an aligned group of practitioners there, that some really great things could come out of those sessions. Paul, how do you go about documenting some of the wisdom that comes out of those sessions and perhaps using them in future mentoring of new team members, or just as a reflective process for those that might have been to the session and want to look back on it? How do you document it?
Everyone tends to take their own notes from what they personally take out of the session. At a formal level, like you, I'm a massive fan of Asana. So
cool.
I use that quite a lot. And if there's any deliberate actions from the meeting, we deal with those within the meeting. So by the end of the session, essentially all the paperwork's done. So if there's big take-home points, we'll use those in a shared project in Asana. If there's big action points, or if there's things within the meeting that we say, hey, next time, can Bob discuss what he was mentioning, or can he elaborate further on that comment he made? We'll pop that into Asana so that it's all ready to go by the time the meeting's over.
That's awesome. That is a really efficient process. So just to capture that, during the actual session, people have their laptops up available, or their phones, and they're live implementing things into Asana as action points moving forward, or as a sort of a base for a communal discussion.
Absolutely. Yeah, we probably 18 months ago, we made a decision and a goal, a bit of a rule, that every meeting should be complete and entirely complete at the end of that meeting. So notes done, actions noted and assigned, written up, everything by the time the meeting finishes. That came out of many meetings taking multiple days afterwards to get the notes done or get the minutes written up, etc. And you know what it's like. A few days later, people forget pertinent points.
Yes.
Whereas if it's done all at the time, then you can literally finish the meeting, go on to the next thing.
Yes. I thought you were going to do that. No, I thought you were going to do that.
Exactly.
Oh, gee,
exactly.
We've got to go back.
She said.
Wow. That's such a cool process to have. And I love the ability, a similar thing, I think, to being able to provide a patient within the consult, a letter or a management plan, doing it then and there. So you don't have a backlog and you can just continue making that progress. That's really cool. Paul, you've built quite a big team of practitioners and of support and admin team members as well. What are some of the things that you've put in place for the mentoring of particularly new team members, or let's say younger professionals if they need a little bit more or different types of support. You've got that case study once a week. What other things do you add into your mentoring to grow practitioners?
Well, we have a quite extensive, well-structured and I was going to say well-researched, but probably just through years and years of making lots and lots of mistakes. It's been cultivated over the years to be well-refined now. A process in place for all practitioners and admin team members joining our Stay Tuned family. And I think the most important part is starting off on the right foot. So our induction process takes about 2 weeks.
Nice.
Whether you're part-time or full-time, it still takes about 2 weeks. Obviously, just the number of sessions vary. And that really sets the tone for everything going forward. We're very clear on our goals, our visions. We do this even in the interview process. And we find by doing that, we tend to not make anywhere near the number of mistakes of picking the wrong person. And I say that from a two-way street, picking the wrong person for our team and picking a person that would be a fabulous in someone else's team. You know, we've made mistakes in both regards before. So having really clear values, guidelines, structure, and making them crystal clear from the start very much helps the process of mentoring going forward from there. Nothing should be a surprise.
That is really, really important. So that 2 week period, is that in a practitioner's case, are they treating patients or is it just an intensive period of induction into the clinic?
In an ideal world, they're not treating patients. There may be some circumstances where there's a little bit of crossover.
Okay.
What we've recently implemented, which has been working really well for about 6 months, is a self-directed induction process within that 2 weeks. So when they join the team, they get an induction booklet and it goes through the various sections of the business, administration to culture to clinical, etc. And within those sections are key criterion or key tasks, key points that they have to be comfortable signing off on. And the signing off means that they are very confident that they can clearly understand and articulate that point. The beauty is they can get that information from anybody within our team. We even set a bonus on it if they get the induction completed in a certain time frame. So if they're quite proactive, they can, during their induction shifts, they can go around and ask any team member, hey, do you know how to find the template letters? Or do you know how I would find this form? And where would I go to complete this? And anyone can help them. So when I get to my session, it might be 2 days later with them. Quite often they've already completed half of the induction process. Which is fabulous for me. It's fabulous for them. And I say, look, tell me about X, Y, and Z. If they can articulate it clearly, then myself or the practice manager sign off. And it's a fabulous process that really gives them, I guess, the power to connect with some of our other team members and to help each other get them in practicing faster.
What a great collaborative process and an empowering process for a new team member as well, to be able to source things from other team members. As a leader, what other principles would you say key attributes of your leadership?
Definitely that aspect of trying to empower them. Early on, I made, and I'm very happy putting my hand up for this one, made many mistakes, as I'm sure all business owners would agree to.
All have.
And and a lot of them came about having a really strong passion and a really strong desire to do the best by my team and to help them the best way I thought they needed. And what time and mistakes taught me was the best way to help them is the best way they need to be helped, which may not always be what I consider the best process. So in the last few years, where we've really shown a lot of growth in our business has been through releasing control and empowering the staff to be able to take direction themselves, to give them obviously the guidelines and give them the support around those guidelines, but to let them achieve or to reach those goals in their way.
Yeah.
Utilizing the various staff team members that we have in how they see the best way for them to get to that goal.
It's a really cool process because a lot of people will ask about, how do I do two things, motivate my team and make them more accountable. But right from the outset, you're actually helping that accountability and motivation by allowing them to take control, them to be empowered in their own journey, by the sounds of things.
Yeah, and doing that from the induction phase really, as you say, sets that tone for going forward, that everything we do is going to be about helping you achieve the goals that you desire, because we've already established that those goals are in line with the business and clinic goals. So why wouldn't we just help you achieve them? So we found that they show a lot more initiative, that they take a lot more self-control and achieve some things that we would never even imagine, which has just been fabulous.
I really appreciate your humility and vulnerability in sharing there. I think we all make mistakes from time to time, and it can be easy to talk about some of the glossier, nicer things that are happening. I know we started particularly around the causes that are close to the clinic, and also looking at some of the mentoring structures there. Paul, as a clinic owner and as a practitioner, many years' experience under your belt, we believe leaders are learners. I'm interested in knowing what's a big lesson that being a private practice owner has taught you.
Oh, goodness, where do we start?
There's a book in this.
Absolutely. Wow, the lessons, as you say, they are endless, and they continue to come, and sometimes they come as beautiful boxes of chocolates, and sometimes they come as a kick in the face, but they come no matter what. So as long as you're willing to see the lessons for what they are, then you can do the learning. One of the greatest ones was probably come to me recently was in our all team meetings, we did SWOT analysis on each other. So we broke into little groups, and each group, so it wasn't one-to-one because that's obviously quite confronting, but in small groups, they would do a SWOT analysis on another small group of team members. So they would talk about their strengths, their weaknesses, their opportunities, their threats, and then they would come up with 2 action items that they think that team member could do to improve their performance at Stay Tuned.
Great.
And it could be anything. I had myself, for example, one of the strengths was, well, you're a redhead, which was naturally written by one of my team members who's also a redhead. I quite like that one. But one of the action items for me was to take up more hobbies and spend less time at work.
All right.
I take on board because I love what I do, and I think all business owners probably spend too much time doing it. But yeah, those lessons coming from your own team members, especially in a non-hierarchical environment where everybody's even and sharing to simply help each other, have been some of the greatest lessons.
That's cool. And to be able to have a culture that allows that to happen, and also the leadership to allow that to happen, I just have so much respect for, because I know in some cases, clinic owners have done something similar where they call it the SWOT, or like a 360-degree view, which is quite often the thing done in sporting or high-performance teams. To even have the culture to enter into that discussion, yes, has to be a few steps along the path. So speaks volumes to the team that you've developed and the culture you've got. And one of the key things that we often reflect on as a clinic owner and as a leader is, how can you be the best version of yourself? And in many respects, you're inviting that feedback to be able to find ways to continue to progress and grow as a person and as a professional. I'm interested in, what are some of the things that you actually do, some of the ingredients, if you will, that allow you to play a bigger game and be the best version of yourself?
That's a tough question. I think number one, putting your ego and your pride aside when you come to work, and especially if you come to these types of cultural meetings where you have to be willing to be vulnerable, and some of them are quite awkward conversations, or challenging, I should say, conversations. So going in there without ego or pride, because they just get in the way of learning, is probably the greatest method, I guess.
Yeah.
A reminder that
is there something that you use, Paul, like as a bit of a trigger or prompt for you to do that, or is it just something you've conditioned yourself to do over time?
Probably more conditioning than anything. And as I say, some of those lessons that kick you in the face, they're always good reminders. I also have an amazing practice manager, Erin, who is possibly one of the most down-to-earth people you'll ever meet in your life, or you have met. And she has no qualms keeping me grounded on any given day or time. So I invite that, and I very much appreciate the grounding that she gives me if I ever start getting lost in the clouds or lost in my passion or desires.
Yeah. And do you have a routine with Erin that might be different to any of the other team members in inviting that? Or is it just have that self-awareness to go, hey, Erin, how am I doing? Or we need some feedback. What's your rhythm there?
Yeah, so we only realised recently we have an unofficial routine that we have a daily check-in with each other.
Cool.
We didn't actually realize we were doing this until she went on holidays and she went, we haven't been doing our daily check-in, and we're going to send each other a message or something. Hey, how's your day? But yeah, that daily check-in just to go, all right, how are we doing today? How's things going in terms of the clinic? Because we have multi-site too, so it might be a phone call check-in from wherever I am. How's the clinic going? How are the staff going? How are the team going? How are you going? And how am I going? And it's important, I guess, to tick all those boxes. And through doing that, sometimes it's very simple. Yep, everything's great, fantastic, good. This person's struggling with this, or this person did amazing things today. No feedback for you. I'm having a great day, or I'm having a bad day. And just doing that two-way has been really, really beneficial.
That's really cool. So the distinction, how are you going and how am I going? And that's sort of a check-in process on a daily basis. Does that happen verbally over the phone, in person, or is it written, say, by email or Slack?
We haven't gotten onto writing it yet, but it's either in face-to-face if I'm at the clinic where Erin's also working that day, or via phone if I'm at another clinic or at training. Cool.
And that process takes roughly about how long?
How long's a piece of string?
Some days are longer than others.
Yeah, with a team of 40 staff, I can be on the phone to her for an hour sometimes with that conversation, especially if there's some complex things going on or if there's a new staff member, and it can be as quick as 5 minutes.
Cool. I guess perhaps a key there, I imagine, have then some flexibility in your diary for that to be able to happen.
Yes, very much so. If I'm making the phone call, I never make the call when I've only got 5 minutes. I always allow, I might be driving to a distant location for training or driving back from one clinic to where I live, which is a good 45-minute drive, and we'll have the phone calls then rather than a 5-minute squeeze. And there's nothing worse than trying to, what does Stephen Covey say? You can be efficient with things, but never with people.
It's a really good principle, and it's interesting because we've talked about before the stand-up huddle or sort of meet before you start the day, which might be anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes that you might have with a small group of people on your team. What you're allowing here is the opportunity for it to be that long, or for it to go much longer, whatever is required to get the result and communicate the outcomes that are needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's you always feel better after the conversation, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Cool. It's really interesting to find out, what are some of the things that you have in your diary as part of your rhythm to be the best leader and the best person possible? Are there things that you do as a health professional for your own sort of health and well-being? Because we often hear clinic owners feeling stressed, tired, overwhelmed, etc., from their business, and they often put themselves at the low point of that chain. What are some of the things you do to make sure you are actually presenting with and maintaining your health and well-being?
Yeah, look, I have a job that I consider myself very blessed to have. I love my job. I love my work. I struggle to even call it a job. So I love what I do. I'll call it that. I love my life very much. But like anyone, it definitely gets stressful. It definitely gets overloaded. Acutely aware that I historically take on too many things. I get too excited. So a lot of business owners do, and think that this 25-hour day is going to come soon, but it hasn't yet. But to keep things balanced, I play beach volleyball, and it's a relatively new sport for me. I've only been playing for about 5 years now, so it's also been very humbling to join a sport where I have no skills whatsoever, and to go from complete beginner to now playing at a reasonably high level. And I love that. I train probably 15 hours a week in beach volleyball, and the combination of the intense level of training with the intense physical exercise, but in a beautiful environment of being on South Melbourne Beach or being on an indoor beach centre with a whole bunch of amazing people, definitely is a fantastic balancer for me. One of the beautiful things about beach volleyball is there's no teams. There's only a community. So you never have clubs, well, probably not teams. There's no clubs. You don't play for a club. So everybody in the community is kind of like they're on the same team. And it's a really inclusive, friendly community. You can go down to the beach any day and you'll always be able to pick up a game. No matter how good the players are or how bad the players are in terms of the game, you'll still be able to join in. So that's a constant reminder of doing exercise and doing a sport for enjoyment and not just for the competitive outcome.
Very neat. I'm surprised the talent scouts didn't seek you out or find you, given your height and the red hair. I would have thought you'd stand out, literally.
No, I picked two sports in my life, basketball and beach volleyball. And unfortunately, in those sports, 6'1" is not tall.
Oh, yeah, true. I guess I've seen some of those volleyballers. They are legs 11, aren't they?
Yeah. I'm definitely a small player in the large scheme of things in beach volleyball and in basketball.
Paul, that's really cool. I think that, we often talk about business and also, being a health professional, the health of your business, but also that starts with, I think, the health of you, the owner, as well. If this is going to be a sustainable game for you to play, business that is, need to take care of numero uno as well. So that's really interesting. Thank you for sharing that. I look forward to seeing you on the beach. Thank you so much for your insights today. I feel like got a really cool understanding of some of the key reasons why you've been able to grow such an impressive team in size and caliber, with a lot of purpose behind what you do is a key message that I get out of the insights you've shared today, whether it be from the charitable causes that you work with, or whether it's having that humility as a leader to know that maybe you haven't got the answers to everything and being willing to engage team members, people around you to give you feedback no matter where they might be in their career. I think there's some pretty cool insights. So thank you so much for sharing.
My absolute pleasure, and thanks for having me.
Paul, for those who want to connect with you, where's the best place for them to join your community, follow up, say g'day, and connect with you online?
Probably the simplest one is I have a professional Instagram account, which is paul.osteo.staytuned. It's pretty flooded with exercises to help people, but obviously people can direct message me there and contact me in that way, or via our website, which is staytuned.com.au.
Perfect. Paul, thank you so much for your insights. For listeners, you can head along to clinicmastery.com for the show notes and all the details of what we've discussed today. Thank you so much for listening in, and we'll see you on another episode very soon.
Thanks for tuning in to the Grow Your Clinic podcast. To find out more about past episodes or how we can help you, head to www.clinicmastery.com/podcast, and please remember to rate and review us on your podcast player of choice. See you on the next episode.